Cool. Right, we are. I think everybody's in. James, if you can let people in, if you see anybody pop up, that would be great. So just to really quick, this all came about from the conversation, and I think Rob's joined us. This all came about from the WhatsApp message. So this is all Rob's fault, by the way, and it just really resonated because up until 3 or 4 years ago, I was doing what you guys are doing, and hindsight is never around when you need it, right? But when Rob was articulating what had gone on, it just brought back memories, and not particularly great memories of things that had happened to me in a similar way. So this is snowballed beyond belief, and what I thought was just going to be a 5-minute, 10-minute chat has turned into a big group, and there's about 20 people asked for the recording as well. So so I panicked a little bit yesterday and thought, shit, I better just make this a bit more formal with a bit more sort of content and structure. So I've equally called in the big guns, Miles and James, who work at North Star as well, to help me. So I'm going to crack on because we haven't got long, and I'm going to talk really, really fast because we've got a bit to sort of get through. What I'm going to ask is unusually.
Well, your alarm off, so that's configured correctly, I think, right? So this is running as it should be. Okay, so then therefore you have
somebody's chatting away. They're on mute. Cool. So I'm going to crack on. If you've got any questions, if you could please just ask, if you can just keep until the end, and then we're going to try and do 10-15 minutes at the end, sort of Q&A, to ask any questions. But as you probably gathered from the WhatsApp group, this is a massive passion of mine. And Sam Lewis and I have spoke about this on a number of occasions, and I know that Simon feels equally as passionate about this. So we're going to crack on. So I did change the heading, by the way, to ditch contingent recruitment to fuck contingent recruitment, because that is how strongly I feel about contingent recruitment. So apologies if that's offended anybody. Actually, I don't apologize at all. I think it's right. Right. So you're all doing recruitment. I work client side, so I do a bit of consultancy work for organizations direct. Helping them sort out the recruitment, the TA, going to market in some cases. I can honestly tell you from my network, I don't believe there are many, if any, TA, HR directors that perceive recruiters to be different. They think we're all doing the same thing, heading in the same direction. It's all about speed, and we're all sort of competing with one another. I personally believe that's quite accurate. When people start talking about USPs, they say the same things as everybody else. So I don't think people have got many USPs, if I'm being brutally honest with you. What I'm going to do, by the way, is just try and share with you why this is so important, because if you understand the why, then I think you'll really get on board. If we just present you with a solution, you'll see it as a shiny new toy. And my experience tells me recruitment agency owners will start it and then they'll ditch it. They'll lose interest quite quickly. So understanding the why is really, really important for me. So what do we do? Well, I asked Simon to enter a bike ride. Simon Lewis to enter a bike ride a while ago and to do something to stand out from the crowd. So the big bird in the background, in the sort of bright yellow canary outfit, is Simon. And I think you'll all agree that in that group of people, he stands out. This is the challenge that we've got as recruiters. We need to do something that is going to help us stand out. This is a personal view, by the way, and some people may disagree with where people are on the curve, but I totally and passionately believe that contingent perm recruitment is the least complex and the least value service that you could offer to your customers. I personally believe that's why we struggle. It stresses us out. All the business owners that Miles and I support with and work, they're all stressed to blazers because most of them are doing this perm contingent recruitment. It's all right when it's good, but when it's shit, it's proper shit. But it's really stressful, really proper stressful. So this is all about trying to develop something which has got a high degree of service complexity, but it adds more value to the customer. We've been talking about consultative selling for about 20 odd years. We're still talking about consultative selling. It's bollocks. It's just about trying to find something that adds value to the customer. And what I've done on the curve is just listed a number of different services that you might want to think about and you might want to reflect on. It's all about trying to do something which solves a problem. there was a WhatsApp, sorry, a post on LinkedIn this week. A TA person wrote in his post, to all the recruiters out there, do you think I can't do a Boolean search? Do you think I can't post a job advert on Indeed? Do you think I can't headhunt on LinkedIn? And he was basically saying, you know, why would I pay a recruitment agency to do stuff that I can do? It's actually fairly right. Most TA teams can do that. Not all, but most. So this is about trying to find a gap. It's trying to find something that complements rather than competes. The more you move up that curve, the more you'll block out the competition, you'll drive recurring revenue, you'll get paid for the work. We'll come on to that in a bit. You'll certainly have deeper relationships, and it'll create more value in your business. So we've just got to think about the maturity curve and how we sort of push that a bit higher and a bit faster. So where do we start? So we start by understanding the problem. This, for me, is the fundamental problem we're trying to fix. For every pound the average recruiter bills, you convert 18p to profit. By the way, that's before tax. So you put the bloody tax on there, you're into single digit pennies. So that's been compounded by people costs that have risen over the past 10, 15 years. It was always about 33%, by the way, with the people costs. Your back office costs have risen a little bit as well. So, but the net fee income or gross margin, the revenue that you've got coming in hasn't risen. That stayed static. So your revenue stayed static. People costs have gone up. Back office costs have gone up. You're ending up now with less profit than ever before. When I started out recruitment, it was always a third, a third, a third. So you ended up with about 33% profit. Those days have gone for the majority of people. But there is a way to double that 18% to 30, 36. And we're going to try and show you how to do that. This is what we're trying to fix. I talked about the revenue not changing. There's a few people who've probably been in the recruitment industry a long time on the call. We're still billing 120 grand per consultant, per person, on average in the industry. So despite all this technology, and we're all talking about AI and ChatGPT, it's made bugger all difference to how much revenue people are generating per head. Bugger all. So we need to look at this revenue per head and think about how we sort of drive it and how we move the dial a little bit. If you want to be upper class quartile performance, your team, your people, you need to have every average billing per head, gross margin, net fee income of over 170 grand. That puts you in the upper quartile category if you want to be really good. Part of this problem, I believe, is compounded by the fact that as owners, and I've been guilty of this, we do training top down, not bottom up. So what do I mean by that? Owner comes into the business on a Monday morning and they go, you know what? We need to do more business development. I'm going to do some business development training. You know what? We need to do some training on people's personal brand. I'm going to do some training and schedule that in for the next week too. My passionate belief is that you should be doing this bottom up. So when I was at Interquest, I outsourced all my L&D to James. We had a training needs analysis form, which the people completed themselves. The manager would then complete it, would compare the two results, and that would form part of the development plan going forward. Now, I'm going to throw James under the bus here, by the way, because if you want that training needs analysis form, email him. And now we can't say no because I've done it publicly on a forum. It's james@northstarpeople.com. Email him and just say, can I have your training needs analysis form? It's gold dust. I was using something similar to that with James 4 years ago. It's brilliant. The last bit I just add is a lot of training. 90% of training is about business development. 10% is on account management and retention. That is bollocks, guys. We've got to change that round. We've got to focus in on customer retention and think about account management and how we grow market share in customers and how we keep as customers as much, if not more, than business development. Plays nicely into my next slide around customer retention. 27% of business owners and leaders don't measure it. What the actual fuck? 27% don't measure customer retention. Wow. This was one of my key business metrics I had a big business. I knew all this sort of data and all this shit. So your customer retention, if you're not measuring it, you need to be measuring it, but you need to understand that part of what we're talking about today about developing services will help you drive customer retention. But you've got to understand the problem first. So if you're not measuring it, make sure you're measuring it. Next bit of data for you. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know I'm always on about this because I feel pretty passionate about this one as well. We fill on average 30% of all roles. At best, I've seen agencies hit 50, 55%. Headhunters do a lot more, by the way, but that's slightly different. We're talking about contingent recruitment here. So on average, we're filling 30% of all roles. That means 70% of you are working for bugger all. You're working for free. Customers think it's good. You might not think it's so good. So we've got to challenge why we work in roles, and we all get it right. Organizations put roles on hold, they cancel them, the budget gets pulled, they decided they want something else, they fill it internally, they get a referral, and actually they have put it out to another agency and another agency fills it. So there's all this myriad of roles. But the fact that we are only filling 30% of the roles is a massive challenge. Miles is going to demonstrate the waste that has got attached to it in a bit. So before you even get on to doing something different, building a new service, if you're not measuring these things, you need to measure it. You can make a really big difference to your business if you tweak and just push the dial a little bit harder. Just retaining a couple of customers extra a year, driving a consultant, just billing a little bit more money, increase your fill rate. You can easily make nearly 100 grand by just focusing on these 2 or 3 things in your business. I talked about benchmarking your business, super important to me. I've always done this throughout my career. If you've got your phones ready and you want to benchmark your business, this is a free tool, by the way. Scan the QR code. It will help you understand where you've got gaps. It'll benchmark your business externally against some of the key business metrics that Miles and I feel uber passionate about. It gives you a report, and it's your data, it's your information. There's no sales pitch, there's nothing else. It will benchmark your business for you and help you understand what you need to do more of and better in the second half of the year. So where do we start? I always start with customer segmentation. I used to do this every year. If you're not doing this every year, I sort of question why. This is all about segmenting your customer base. I spoke to a recruiter a few weeks ago, and he said he'd done it by industry, and I was like, oh my God, really? I was doing that like 25 years ago. Have you not moved on and doing it any different? This is about segmenting your customer base in 3 ways. This is normally a half-day session, by the way, that Miles and I do. So I'm trying to cover this in like 30 seconds. But there's 3 bits of criteria. You map all your customers out. One of the key bits of criteria is where your relationship is at with the customer. And this is really key because when we come on to building and selling services, understanding where you're going to go selling it first and where you're going to go testing it, Miles will cover that off. That is really important. But regardless of whether you do something around your products or not, you should be segmenting your customer base every year so that you've got a clear plan in terms of who's doing what with the customer and what you're trying to achieve with it. Not having a plan, in my humble opinion, will result in TA people suddenly being appointed, supplies being swapped and changed, more senior relationship person coming in, and ultimately you losing business. In my humble experience, I've lost loads of business, by the way. Miles, where do we start on this? What do we need to think about before we get into the solution?
Okay. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I think one of the big challenges is, and we talked earlier about standing out, being different, USPs, and yeah, it's really tough. It's really tough. So much white noise out there. One of the big problems that we've seen, one of the big challenges for many recruitment organizations is exactly that. And what we see is they talk about being brilliant at service. Well, what makes us different? It's our service, it's our people. The trouble is everybody says that, and it's very, very hard to validate. There's not many agencies that publish their net promoter score. or Trustpilot scores or whatever it is. But even then, people are going to take that with a grain of salt. The whole purpose of this what we call our competitive positioning triangle is, as an organization, you need to decide where you want to compete. And we use this with clients. Again, we do a bit of an exercise as part of our strategy and planning process where, where do we think we are right now and where do we want to be in the future going forward? How we would then take that forward beyond that is you can use this to sort of map out your competitors. But the reality is, for many recruiters at the moment, if you are a one or two trick pony, i.e. you do contingent perm and contingent non-perm, then the chances are right now you're beginning to compete on price. In fact, you might have been competing on price for the last 12 months because you've got very little else to sort of offer. So what this is all about today is this is all about products and services and evolving your value proposition. So, when we've sat down with many recruiters, where they really want to go to is to that bottom left-hand corner and get away too much from price. Price is always important, but we're going to talk about how you can kill two birds with one stone in a moment. Thanks, Paul. Cool. So I think, one of the most important things we've seen is we've got to try and elevate ourselves as recruiters, as recruitment agencies, to get us away from being perceived as just a supplier for somebody to come and buy a product from at the cheapest possible price, but somebody that's going to add real value. And a lot of the work, again, that we've been doing with agencies down the years is helping them elevate themselves. How do we do that? It's not just about the products and services you can offer, but it's about the support you can give. It's about the information that you can provide. It's about the insights that you can offer. It's one thing that we see time and time again really gets end clients engaged. And most importantly, it gets this more senior end clients engaged with you. They start perceiving you as more than just somebody that, well, we've tried ourselves. We still need a body, still need a bum on a seat. I know. Let's go to those three and see what we can get. So that's absolutely critical because, for me, what we are is, we are enablers for organizations to grow, to develop, to improve, to achieve their own ambitions. But we very rarely talk about that. We used Paul dropped the F-bomb right at the start of the session today. I'm not going to drop the C word, but the most overused word in recruitment is consultant. It drives me doolally that everybody gives themselves that label. I have seen less than 1% of recruitment businesses really consult with clients. Some have a flowery conversation around talent, maybe, but they don't consult. They don't get to the root of the client's issues, challenges, problems, opportunities that they're missing. It's all too much about cost, or it's cost and quality, or it's cost, quality, and time. But what about all the other stuff around retention, around onboarding, around culture? We don't get under the skin of clients, and it's really important we do that. So leading on from that, we've got this narrow space that we tend to operate in terms of recruitment. We recruit. But when you actually explode just that recruitment piece and actually start thinking about what we do as part of each process, one of the things that Paul and I challenge many of our clients on these days is actually stop giving away really great stuff for nothing because you've done it for years, because you feel you've got to, because it's the only thing that makes you different. Move that great stuff that you do in your contingent product that you just do for free, hoping that the client's going to say yes, and move it to a product that you're going to get some revenue for. But what we do with organizations, and again, this is just hopefully a bit of knowledge transfer for you guys, is think about what you do in each of these areas and think about how you can build it more effectively into your proposition, into your product offering. And I'm not just talking about contingent or retained, because it goes beyond black and white these days. It's not just one or the other. No commitment, all commitment. There should be, and Paul, put that sort of graphic up earlier. You can offer a suite of products and services that maybe start with no client commitment because we need to build trust, but then can take clients on a journey of commitment. We've got one, and just sharing this really quickly, we've got one client at the moment that went on this journey with us 6 months ago now. It took them 2 months, okay, to really get into the groove of actually having a suite of products. But over the last 4 months now, they've got, as of this week, 24 roles in what we call a committed recruitment product, or a committed exclusive offering. And James can talk a little bit more about that later on. And what that simply is, it's where they go in and they get a commitment fee of £1,750, and they then charge 15% on completion. Now, look, those numbers might vary by sector, by market, but you do the maths, 24 roles where they've got nearly £2,000 up front. What they've seen, and they were brilliant as a recruiter, they were filling 1 in 2 roles. They had a 50% fill rate, but they've seen their fill rate on that committed exclusive go up north of 80% now. And what they've also seen is their contingent fees have now gone higher, because they've realized actually we've been selling ourselves short. And this is the difference. Okay, this is now about adding value. So the old days, contingent was there, we do that much service and we charge that much fee. Retained is over here, we do all this stuff, and my God, we're amazing and brilliant, and that's why we charge 36%, and it's a third. Look, those days have gone as far as I'm concerned. What we need to do is we need to say to clients, right, you want economies of scale, you want to drive down cost per hire, time to hire, improve quality of hire. What this is about is commitment. Our commitment to you and your commitment to us. Where there's no commitment, unfortunately, it's not great. The service isn't good. And contingent recruitment is shit. It's shit for the candidate, it's shit for the recruiter, and it's shit for the end client and the hiring managers. If we can get you to a level of commitment, we can do much more in terms of that service, and we bring the price down. That's the game changer. Is you've got to tip it the other way from how it's been historically. That's what will get clients going away from contingent if you offer them discounts. But it's not to them, they're getting it cheaper. But for us, we get it for higher levels of productivity, and we'll come on to that in a second. If we could just go to the next slide, please. But let's just come back a second. So really important slide, this. Only 15% of customers, this is actual data, only 15% of recruitment businesses in the last 2 years have gone to their clients and talked about their product offering and how they want to develop and improve. I think that's horrific. Okay, the reason why is we don't build products and services out of our own vanity because we know best and we think right. We've got good ideas, we've got hunches, but if we don't go and challenge our clients with that, if we don't go and ask them, if we don't engage them, believe you me, I've seen it, we will get it slightly wrong or very wrong, in which case it fails. And the amount of businesses that we've worked with in the last 2 years that have said, we've tried this before, yeah, we've sort of done that, it didn't really work. But when we sort of go back, it's because I came up with an idea, I put the idea out there, and it didn't quite float. So we just carried on doing what we did before. So there's a fundamental change we need to do, which we need to go to clients. If you've got an idea and there's something that you want to build into your product and your proposition and offer to your client, don't spend all that time, energy, effort, and money and polish it up and make it look amazing for it to fail. Go to the clients early, talk to them and say, we're thinking about doing this. Sorry, it's got a wasp flying around my head. Engage with them, talk to them, get them to challenge you, ask them if there's anything that we've missed. If we could just move on to the next slide, please, it would be useful. So we use a process, and look, there's a free download on our website, which will talk all about this thing. That Japanese guy, by the way, is the guy that came up with this wonderful tool called Kano analysis. But look, download the guide if you want the real devil in the detail. What Kano analysis is about is you go to your customers and you're trying to find out what are the must-haves, what are the nice-to-haves, what are the real exciters and delighters, but also importantly, what are the things that actually maybe turn them off, switch them off. We went through this process recently with a client in the Northeast, and we had a new suite of products, and we were doing it on one of their products, which was a project RPO product. And we thought we'd sort of got it nailed down, but we took it out to market. We took it to 20 clients, and it was really interesting because there was 4 things that we thought would be really engaging and useful for that customer base. And they came back and said, no, we're not interested in those elements. So we were able to take them out before we took it to market. And one of the other big benefits, guys, of going to your clients and talking to them about this stuff in terms of what we're thinking of doing, what we're trying to do, how we want to improve, it starts to get them engaged in you. And we saw one of our clients over in Ireland, they won their first, and it was a fairly small 60 roles over 12 months, but it was an RPO project. They won their first project, and the first client that engaged that project with them was one of those ones that they went and did the market testing with. And they turned around as part of that market testing process and said, we didn't know you could do this. This is fantastic. Why haven't you spoken to us before about this? I mean, obviously, well, this is new, blah, 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 but yeah, that was their first deal. It was absolutely fantastic. So again, this isn't about doing a big deep dive Kano analysis. The free guide's there on our website. Talk to us if you want to do something like that, but just go and talk to your customers. Find out what floats their boat. So let me just talk about waste now. Look, a little bit busy this slide, but this is all about an individual, and you can roll this up. So if you've got 1 person, 2 person, 10 people, 100 people in your business, this applies. But I would say, don't just look at it from a theoretical perspective that I'm going to talk about now. Go back, take away from me, go back and do this in your business if you've got the data to do it, because it will make sure you sat down and got a glass of gin or something as well when you get the result. So most people, as Paul said earlier, rightfully, fill 1 in 3 roles. Okay, but we're really good in recruitment at managing success. What we're not good at is managing everything, because we're so obsessed with hitting the target, getting the GP, ringing the bell, doing whatever we do when we make a deal and hit our target. But the reality is yeah, look, that guy's doing quite well. He's doing 196 grand a year, way ahead of the average curve. But my challenge to recruiters all the time is, it's not what's the average fee of the roles you place, what's the average fee of all the roles that you've worked on? Because if you're filling 1 in 3, all of a sudden your 7 grand goes to less than 2.5 grand. That doesn't sound so cool. And when you actually extrapolate it further out and you actually say, bloody hell, over a year, what does my waste look like? Well, I might have done 196, but my God, look at all the revenue that I've lost, all the fees that I've lost on the roles that I've wasted my time on. And that's what we need to do. It's not saying that contingent won't and can't play a part in your value proposition. It's there to gain trust. It's there to show and demonstrate worth and value. But any client that you're still working with where you fill more than 2 roles on contingent and you haven't started to move them away from that, it's one of 2 reasons. Either you don't have the products and the services, so they just sit there and we just try to get more volume and we give them some volume discounts. Or if you have got other things, maybe there's something broken and we're not selling in the way that we sort of need to sell. But this is the big challenge for me. This isn't about working hard now. This is about working smart and giving clients something that would add real value and we can give a reduction in fee.
Thanks, Miles. Just a couple of more examples to, I guess, just show how doable this is. Gary's a sole entrepreneur that I work with. He launched a embedded solution product in January this year. He was uber stressful, feast and famine, trying to build north of 100 grand a year to take out. He's now got 40% of his revenue booked for the whole year. Every time he sells another one, the first person who rings is me, because he's that chuffed and pleased with it. And it's become a game changer from him. It's reduced the amount of stress he's under, the anxiety. He's enjoying his work a little bit more. He's having better, higher level conversations with his customers. It's been a complete game changer, and he's a sole entrepreneur. The second example is a lady that I work with in the hospitality sector, so very cost conscious. They've deployed a couple of new services. The subscription model, which we'll come on to in a bit, it's been a game changer. So this is where people in effect book 5-6 roles per year that you're going to work on and going to fill, pay a monthly subscription fee, and then draw down as and when they've got that need. It's become a game changer. The biggest thing for her is that it's blocked out the competition. So if she works for some of her, if anybody on here is in hospitality and has come up against her, that you've probably lost out as a result of that subscription model, which has been hugely successful. And these are just some screen grabs that I did, because if you go on the web and look for agencies that are doing this, There are a number of people doing it. So is change happening? Yes, it is. You can either be an early adopter of the change that's about to hit the industry, or you can be a laggard. Personally, I wouldn't want to be a laggard, but not everybody will do this, because we know that a lot of people, they want change, but they're not up for the change, if that makes sense. So it's a massive game changer. So what you need to start thinking about is how you're going to move. And I couldn't resist the banana skin, by the way, for contingent recruitment. You need to start thinking about how you're going to move your product on that service value curve that I showed you at the start, how you're going to develop new solutions. And this obviously all comes back to understanding your customers, which is why, getting in front of your customers is super important. By the way, when you develop your new product, and if you go out to your customers and ask them for feedback, and just tell your customer, you're one of a few people that have come to that I really respect. You're a thought leader, you're an expert in your area. We're developing a new product for 2026. I'm really looking for somebody to give me some really critique and good feedback to help me do this. I can honestly tell you now, your customers will go, oh, they think I'm a thought leader. They think I'm one of their top 10 people in their network, and they're asking me for my opinion. It's a game changer in terms of conversations. I probably get one a month where people will reach out to me. They'll stroke my ego. I'll sit here, dust all the dust off my shoulders, and go, yeah, I'll give you 40 minutes to critique your product offering. People rarely say no. It's an easy way to do it. So, James, you've done a little bit of work around this retained, committed bit with some of your customers. James is a trainer, by the way. I'm not a trainer. I just like, oh, James, this is your bag. Do you just want to quickly, so we've only probably got 2 or 3 minutes, but do you just want to quickly give an overview of what you've done and how people sort of break down the service?
Yeah, morning, everyone. First of all, I think it's really important that these additional services become normalised, not just shiny new things that are going to be all blasted out and then we're going to forget about them. So they need to become a normal part of your service. Got a couple of slides from a couple of clients we've worked with who've gone through the process of trying to work out what are our different services, and therefore they're even on their website. So you can see this particular agency has what they call standard, silver, gold. So contingency, exclusive, retained is there to see on their website. At the very least, when you give customers 3 options, they'll go for the middle, because that's kind of seen as the easy option. They may even go for the retained option here as well. And then the other slide, Paul, another client that we work with, this one's in North America. Similar kind of thing. They've got a standard search, a focus search, and a deep dive search. So similar but different. So 3 different options. There you go, client. Take your pick. Which ones do you like? And then the next one, Paul, what's really important, and this is the way we start our training with retained search and subscription services, you need to work out the differences. So what is it a customer gets with just a normal contingency service? What is it they get with maybe a more committed exclusive service? And then what are they going to get with a subscription or a retained service? So there needs to be different propositions rather than just a different level of commitment you're expecting from the client. I've faded this out because this is from the client's site. There's a whole list of different things here, but they get different things depending on what they are committing to. And then you can decide, of course, whether the price is going to change as well for those services. It could be the same, it could be different. You could make more committed clients pay less, your call. So in terms of how we deliver this to teams, the first one is know the play. So your teams need to understand the different service propositions and what they get, what your customers get in each, and then how to spot the opportunity to take these to your clients and then sell it with confidence. The second module we cover is perfect the pitch. So how can you prepare to take this to your clients? How are you going to price it? And how are you going to position it like a consultant? We talked about the C word earlier. We are talking like a proper consultant here. And then finally, when you do sell it, you've got to deliver. And therefore, the way you're assessing your candidates, again, is at another level compared to just normal contingency recruitment. So we train the consultants here on how to interview like a pro. So proper competency-based interview questions based on the client's competencies, not our own. And therefore, how can you impress your clients like a partner and continue to get this business moving forward? And
Thanks,
part
James.
of that third step is going to be sharing insights and other support along the way. There you go, Paul.
Thanks, James. And if anybody wants to know how to sell it, then speak to James. Louise has posted a comment in the chat, and you're absolutely right, Louise. I had this conversation with John Saltz, who's from job board background, and he was saying the same thing, by the way. So I just want to just quickly moving on, then we're going to open it up to questions. There's one obstacle that I need to be really honest with you about. There is one thing that Miles and I see as a common denominator that stops people doing this, and it's you, if I'm being brutally honest with you. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because we tend to sit in our comfort zones, and sometimes we'll take a foot out and we'll dip a toe in the water in the fear zone, but we get there and we start, oh, it's a bit uncomfortable, this, and we go back. So whatever you do, this is about what we've tried to do here is show you why to do it. Make sure you're measuring stuff, because when you do stuff like this, if you're not measuring it, you don't know the impact it's had on your business. So we the hospitality agency, you know, we're tracking like the average margin, we're tracking fill rates, we're tracking every bit of data, so that when we launch the service, we can see the impact it's having on the business, both in a negative and positive way. Obviously, there's more positives than negatives, but it's really important we track that so we understand the impact it's having, and we, you know, tweaking where we need to tweak it accordingly. So really super important. I'm going to stop presenting there because I think that's probably enough slides for now. I guess I'm just going to open it up to questions if anybody's got any or anything you want to discuss. I'll talk about the subscription model a little bit. What we sometimes need to do is we need to move away from a percentage fee, and we need to start thinking about cost per hire, because this is how a lot of TA and HR professionals think. If you go down the percentage route, people are thinking about what discount have you offered on the percentage. The average cost per hire in the UK is £3,000. By the way, it's sometimes hard to get industry specific information, but so that's generic, that's for all industries and all roles. So it's £3,000. So when I do some of the work with organizations internally, I benchmark their cost per hire, and I'm looking at how much time the HR or the TA people are spending on it, the time that the hiring manager will spend on it, and then, you know, the usual stuff around ATS, job boards, LinkedIn, and everything else. So I'm trying to benchmark their cost per hire, and then I'm trying to use that as a means to price up the cost per hire going forward. What I would say is this, a little tip. A lot of people in recruitment, they'll discount fees, but they don't understand the profitability. I'm always about doing this bottom up. So when I'm pricing a piece of work up, I'm working out the cost of delivery, the commission I'm going to pay somebody, all the tools I've got, the desk charges. I'm looking at the management time, the owner's time. I'm truly costing it all up, and then I'm putting 36% on top, and that's how I will double my conversion rate. Bearing in mind that we're only making 18p in the pound. If you price these things bottom up, you'll drive your conversion rate. Never do it top down. And certainly try and move away from percentage fees and try and think about cost per hire more. It's honestly, it's a real game changer. Any other questions, guys? Anybody, you know, does anybody want? Yeah, go on, Ian.
Hi, Paul. Yeah, interesting that you mentioned about keeping contingency or retained fees at a similar price to contingency, or even reducing it, because I have looked at this, and I'm a solo recruiter, so I do retained fees, and I've often reduced them, and it ends up creating a bit of a headache, if I'm honest, because it's quite easy.
Oh, we just froze at the wrong moment.
Didn't we just?
Is it coming back? Is it not? Oh, it's back. Go on, you're back, Ian.
Hey, I don't know how much you heard of that.
You just talked about reducing and it caused a headache.
Yeah, I'm just curious that you suggest either reducing or maintaining the fee at the same level.
I think,
Miles,
yeah,
do you
I was going to say, I think, Ian, what this it has to be value, and importantly, it has to be profitable for you. Whether you're a solopreneur, micro agency, or a large organization, this is all about, with all respect, this is all about us making money and making profit. I'll probably link it back to, an example, with an organization. We show that graphic of if you're filling 1 in 3, what does it look like from how much are you making per role filled? And I think, there is a direct link to this, because this is about productivity with your retained work. As you will know, come hell or high water, chances are you're going to be 99% fill rate or above on retained. You've got to be. You can't do retainers and fail on retainers. So the reality is that's virtually 100% productivity. Whereas with contingent, you're running at 30% productivity. So a 10 grand fee and a 10 grand fee are very different things, because the amount of time and energy and effort you're wasting there compared to fully productive sort of time there. And I think, we had an instant, Paul and I, where a client, and this was with a subscription model, by the way, but they really were so ballsy about it that they went to market and said recruitment fees as low as X, and it was percentage. It was this hospitality agency, and I think in hospitality that was the big flashing light to attract people in. But they made that link and thinking, if we get subscription, we can do it sub 10%, because with our 1 in 3, 1 in 4 fill rate, even if we're doing 18%, it's not 18%. It's probably about 4 or 5%. And so that's the mindset shift. But I think, Ian, coming back to your point, it depends what you want to build into your products and service around a retained offering. That means that, you need to be careful of how you structure that. It's got to be value for you, and it's got to be value for the client. And importantly, it's got to be profitable for you as well.
I'd probably just add, Miles, this is where benchmarking your business is really key, right? Because it's about fixing the problems you've got rather than doing something because you think you should do it. It's using that data to understand what is it that you're trying to fix. And if, as Miles has said, if you've got high fill rate and you've got high fees, you might not need to do much at all. It might be a tweak, but for people doing contingent recruitment, it's probably quite a bit of a shift.
Thank you.
Great question. I'll just ask one more time if anybody wants to raise their hand, by the way, if they've got a question. Go on, Claire, over to you.
Oh, yeah.
Make it an easy one.
I loved it when you said, because I've scribbled it down, when you went on to talk about getting a commitment fee. Because earlier on I'd scribbled down, like, at that discovery phase, like, there's just so much investment, isn't there? Like, we commit to working for somebody without actually commitment there. And I thought that was brilliant. What, from your experience, what would you say is the easiest way for people to start to step into this territory? Is it something like a commitment fee? Or is it going to market and saying, here are some of the things that we're thinking about testing out? What would be a good first step?
So I would say be really clear. I'd say start with the end in mind. So build out your service propositions, as James articulated, and have that there. I think in terms of that customer relationship map, moving straight towards a subscription when you haven't got, advocacy or loyalty type relationships is really hard. So you're absolutely right what you're saying. The first step may be that you're asking for, a commitment fee first in order to drive your relationship to that trust and beyond. And that's when you can then start to push it forward. But, if we go back to Gary, who's a solo entrepreneur, he was asking, his fill rate was 30%. And he was getting frustrated. He was working all these roles, not got a lot to show for it. I was like, why don't you just charge 250 quid? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, just charge 250 quid. Most people, if they're like me, I hate losing money, right? If I put a £5 deposit down and I lose it, I get anxious. I have a sleepless night. So he just introduced this £250 deposit. It was a game changer. And now he's moved his product offering into this embedded bit. So you're 100% right, Claire. It's sometimes that deposit, committed, whatever you want to call it, retained. It's the first step to trying to shift the relationship and get more trusted relationships. You're only going to really sell the subscription or something similar. In most cases, you've got between 70 and 85% chance of selling it to an existing customer where you've got a trust plus relationship. It's not impossible, but it is hard to sell it when you haven't got that.
I don't know how much a shopping trolley costs, but if you put £1 in that slot, you're going to take it back to where you got it from to get your £1 back.
Yeah.
Same principle, right?
Yeah, 100%. In fact, I'm waiting in the car park, offering to take everybody's trolleys back for them so I can have the £1.
You used to take the lemonade bottles back as a kid, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Right. Well, we're sort of out of time. So thanks everybody for dialing in. If anybody wants more information, feel free to reach out to me. If you want that training needs analysis, email James and just say Paul said you'd send this to me. And if anybody needs any more support or help, then honestly, we're around, Miles and I. We're spending an awful lot of time helping owners develop their products and product range. More than happy to share more detail. We've tried to cover off what normally takes a day or two in 45 minutes. So apologies if it's been breakneck speed, but hopefully it's added value and it's triggered one or two bits of sort of curiosity. And other than that, have a nice weekend. Stop whinging about the weather and just get out there and enjoy it. Steph. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks very much,
Thanks.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye bye now.
Thanks.
Bye bye.